The Pacific horizon was still dark when Eleanor Caldwell finished her 200th push-up. 5:30 in the morning at Naval Amphibious Base Coronado. Salt and diesel filled the air. Her muscles screamed. Her breathing stayed measured. She refused to quit. 30 Navy SEALs moved in perfect sync around her. Up, down, up, down. The rhythm of elite warriors who had earned their trident through unimaginable hell. And one woman who had done exactly the same. Elena Caldwell stood 5'3" in boots weighing 125 pounds. The smallest operator on SEAL Team 5 by 70 pounds. At 26 years old, she had been a SEAL for exactly 2 years, 3 months and 14 days. Some mornings still felt surreal. Most mornings she made absolutely certain nobody questioned her presence. Master Chief Holt Brannigan's voice cut through dawn like a blade. Time. Recovery stretch. Move. Elena rose smoothly. No tremor visible despite the 200 push-ups. She had learned years ago that showing weakness invited questions. Questions invited doubt, and doubt got people killed. The team stretched in silence. Professional. Focused. This was her family now. These men had watched her survive Hell Week, had witnessed her earn every single inch of respect she carried. But what Elena carried went deeper than muscle and discipline. In her barracks room, locked in the top drawer of her footlocker, sat 3 objects that told the story of her life. A worn leather notebook filled with her father's handwriting. A Navy SEAL trident pin scratched and dulled from years of service. And a black belt in Krav Maga, faded from black to grey in places the edges frayed from 15 years of use. These belonged to Master Chief William Caldwell. SEAL Team 3, killed in action Afghanistan 2011. Elena had been 13 years old when 2 officers in dress whites knocked on her mother's door in Virginia Beach. She remembered the sound of her mother's scream, remembered the folded flag pressed into her small hands, remembered standing at the graveside in the rain surrounded by men with tridents on their chests, making a promise she would spend the next 13 years keeping. She would become a SEAL. Not to honor her father's memory, not to prove a political point, but because her father had spent 12 years preparing her for exactly this, teaching her to fight before she could write in cursive, teaching her to swim in the Pacific's cold embrace before she understood why, teaching her that the body was a machine and machines could be mastered by anyone who understood the engineering. Every page in that notebook was written for her. She just didn't know it yet. The formation broke for breakfast. Elena walked toward the chow hall alone. She was always alone in these quiet moments between training evolutions. 30 men who respected her, who trusted her with their lives in combat, who had watched her earn her place. But none of them knew how to be her friend. The distance wasn't hostile. It was just there, like a glass wall she could see through but never quite break. She sat at the end of a long table, ate her standard meal, 4 eggs, whole wheat toast, black coffee, a banana. The same meal every morning for 2 years. Routine was armor. Discipline was armor. Excellence was armor. And Elena Caldwell wore more armor than anyone on that base, because underneath it she was still that 13-year-old girl standing in the rain holding a folded flag trying not to cry. Her father had taught her that at 12 years old. The year before he died, they were sitting on the back porch of their house in Virginia Beach cleaning his service weapon together when Elena came home from school with tears streaming down her face. A boy had told her she was too small to play kickball, too weak, that girls didn't belong on the field. William Caldwell had set down the weapon, pulled his daughter close, and spoken words that would become her operating system for the next 14 years. When they try to get under your skin, baby girl, you become stone, you become water, you become air. Anything but what they expect, you give them nothing. Because the moment you react, they own you. But when you stand there, calm, steady, unbreakable, they start to wonder if maybe they picked the wrong fight. Elena had carried those words through every trial. Through basic underwater demolition school, where instructors screamed in her face for 26 weeks. Through Hell Week, where she had gone 5.5 days without sleep in the coldest water the Pacific could offer. Through every whispered comment, every sideways glance, every moment when someone looked at her 5'3" frame and saw a liability instead of a weapon. She finished her coffee and walked toward the training grounds. The California sun was climbing now, burning off the marine layer, promising another perfect day at Coronado. But perfection was about to end, because rolling through the main gate at that exact moment were 3 olive-drab transport vehicles that would change everything. United States Marine Corps insignia on their doors. Elena felt the atmosphere shift immediately. SEALs and Marines shared a complicated relationship. Mutual respect mixed with rivalry, each branch convinced of their superiority. The professional equivalent of brothers who loved each other but couldn't stop competing. The buses discharged their cargo. 6 Marines, all male, carrying that distinctive Force Recon swagger, the confidence that came from jumping out of perfectly good aircraft and calling it Tuesday. Elena recognized the type instantly. She had grown up around men like this. Her father had trained alongside them, had bled with them, had respected them. The lead Marine stepped forward, 6'2", maybe 195 pounds, shoulders like a linebacker, jaw carved from granite, Staff Sergeant stripes on his sleeve. His name tape read Kane. Master Chief Brannigan approached with his hand extended, the kind of handshake between senior enlisted men that carried decades of shared understanding. Master Chief Holt Brannigan, welcome to Coronado. Staff Sergeant Dominic Kane, Force Recon. His voice carried parade ground volume, the kind of voice that filled spaces and commanded attention without trying. My team's here for the joint training exercise. 2 weeks of cross-branch integration. Outstanding. Brannigan gestured toward the assembled SEALs. My team's ready to work with you. Combined operations, shared tactics, building cohesion. Kane's eyes swept the formation like a general surveying troops. His gaze moved across the SEALs with professional assessment, measuring, cataloging. Then his eyes found Elena and stopped. 2 seconds. That was how long he looked at her. But in those 2 seconds, Elena watched something cross his face that she had seen 100 times before. Disbelief, then contempt, then something that looked almost like amusement, as if the universe had just told him a joke he couldn't quite believe. His lip curled. All of your team. The question dripped skepticism. 2 words that carried the weight of every doubt Elena had ever faced. Brannigan's expression didn't change. His voice remained professional. All of my team. Kane turned to his Marines, raised his voice another notch, made sure everyone could hear what came next. Looks like Naval Special Warfare has updated their standards, boys. A theatrical pause, the kind that performers use before a punchline. Wonder if they updated their coffee-making requirements too. Laughter from the Marines, uncertain silence from the SEALs. Elena felt 30 pairs of eyes slide towards her. She didn't move, didn't react. Maintained her position of attention, gaze fixed on the middle distance. Kane walked closer, boots crunching on gravel. He stopped 3 feet from Elena, close enough to invade personal space, far enough to maintain plausible deniability if anyone questioned his intent. What's your rate, sailor? Not lieutenant. Not ma'am. Just a deliberate disrespect of ignoring her rank entirely, as if she were a recruit who hadn't earned the right to be addressed properly. Elena met his eyes, level, calm, giving him absolutely nothing. Lieutenant Elena Caldwell, SEAL Team 5. SEAL. He dragged the word out, turned it into something obscene, rolled it around his mouth like he was tasting something bitter. And how long you been playing SEAL Lieutenant? 2 years. Staff Sergeant. 2 whole years. Kane whistled low, shook his head with exaggerated wonder. Boys, we got ourselves a seasoned veteran here. 2 years. He turned back to Elena, smiled. The kind of smile that wasn't friendly at all. The kind that said he had already made up his mind about her, and nothing she could do would change it. Tell me, Lieutenant, they make BUD/S easier for you. Lower that obstacle wall. Maybe let you skip the cold water evolution. Elena's jaw tightened. The only visible reaction she allowed herself. A fraction of movement that only someone standing within 3 feet would notice. Same course, same standards, same hell week. Sure. Kane's smile widened. I believe that. I really do. He raised his voice again, addressing the entire formation. Now I'm sure the Navy gave you the exact same standards as the men. Exact same, no political pressure, no diversity quotas, no senators making phone calls. Then he leaned in, close enough that only Elena and the nearest SEALs could hear his next words. Close enough that she could smell his aftershave and see the small scar above his left eyebrow. Try not to cry, Princess, it's only 2 weeks. Only 2. The words hit like a physical blow. Not because they were clever, not because they were original, but because they came wrapped in the absolute certainty that she didn't belong here. That everything she had survived, everything she had earned, everything she had sacrificed, meant nothing to this man. She was a woman in a man's world, and no amount of excellence would change his mind. Elena's hands curled into fists at her sides. Every muscle screamed to move, to respond, to wipe that smug expression off his face with the kind of precision her father had drilled into her since childhood. She could see the takedown, could feel the submission, could end this conversation in 4 seconds. But she was stone. Yes, Staff Sergeant. Flat, emotionless, giving him nothing. Kane held her gaze 3 more seconds, then he turned, dismissing her entirely, and addressed Brannigan. My Marines are ready to train, Master Chief, assuming we're actually here to train and not babysit. Brannigan's face had gone carefully blank. The kind of blank that came from 32 years of military service and learning when to fight your battles. We're here to train, Staff Sergeant. Let's get your team squared away. The formation broke, Marines moving toward barracks, SEALs dispersing. Elena held her position until everyone else had moved. Then she walked. Not toward the barracks, not toward the chow hall, toward the beach. She needed to run. The Pacific was cold, 62 degrees. Elena ran along the waterline where the sand was firm, where each foot strike sent a spray of salt water against her calves. She ran hard, not for conditioning, not for time, but because running was the only thing that kept her from going back to that formation and showing Dominic Kane exactly what a SEAL could do. 2 miles out, 2 miles back. By the time she returned, her breathing was controlled, her heart rate was dropping, and the rage had been compressed into something smaller, something she could carry without it carrying her. She had 12 days of joint training ahead, 12 days of Kane and his Marines, 12 days of comments and doubts and that smile. She would survive it the way she survived everything, through excellence so undeniable that doubt became impossible. The next 12 days unfolded like a masterclass in psychological warfare. Kane and his Marines integrated into every training evolution, every briefing, every meal, and at every opportunity the comments came, steady, relentless, designed to erode confidence the way water erodes stone, rifle qualification. Elena fired 40 rounds at 300 yards, iron sights, wind gusting at 15 knots from the northwest. She called her shots, controlled her breathing, squeezed the trigger between heartbeats the way her father had taught her before she could write in cursive. 40 rounds, 40 hits, dead center mass, perfect score. Kane watched from the observation booth. His voice carried through the open window like it was designed to. Must be nice having adjustable targets. Bet they set hers 10 yards closer. Laughter from his Marines. Elena ejected her magazine, cleared her weapon, said nothing. Ocean swim, full gear, 50-pound rucksack, weapons, 2 miles in 62-degree water. The cold didn't bother Elena. She had grown up swimming in these waters, had learned to love the Pacific's icy embrace during Hell Week when the cold stopped being an enemy and became something familiar, almost comforting. She finished the swim 8 minutes ahead of the next fastest time, emerged from the surf breathing hard but controlled. No shivering, no hypothermia symptoms. Kane was waiting on the beach. Lucky current today. Probably had it easier being so small. Less body mass to drag. Elena wrung water from her hair. Yes, Staff Sergeant, kill house, live fire exercise, real ammunition, the most dangerous training SEALs conducted, where one mistake meant someone went home in a box. Elena's team breached 6 rooms, engaged 42 targets, 0 civilian casualties, 0 friendly fire incidents. Completion time 93 seconds, textbook perfect. Kane reviewed the video footage, shook his head. Anybody can shoot paper. Combat's different. When real bullets come back, we'll see who freezes. His corporal, a man named Tynes with taekwondo black belt patches on his gym bag, nodded agreement. Women aren't wired for violence, it's biology. When it gets real, instinct takes over. Elena was cleaning her weapon 15 feet away. She heard every word, said nothing, but she was keeping score. Day 12. The gymnasium packed with operators from both services. The smell of sweat and determination thick in the air, crash mats covering the floor. The SEAL instructor, a grizzled chief petty officer who had taught combatives for 20 years, called for demonstration volunteers. I need 2 people. 1 experienced grappler, 1 striker. We're going to show integrated technique. Before anyone could volunteer, Kane's voice boomed across the gym. I volunteer Lieutenant Caldwell. The gym went quiet. Elena turned. Kane was smiling. That same not friendly smile from day 1. Come on, Lieutenant. Show us what female SEAL standards really mean. I'm curious. The instructor frowned. Staff Sergeant. I don't think no disrespect, Chief, but we're supposed to be training together, right? Cross-branch integration. Let's integrate. Kane gestured to his team. Corporal Tynes here has a taekwondo black belt. 3rd degree. He'll be gentle. Tynes stepped forward. 5'9", maybe 170 pounds. Lean and flexible. His grin matched Kane's. I'll go easy, ma'am. Wouldn't want you getting hurt. The instructor looked at Elena. His expression said he knew exactly what was happening. Political theater. A setup designed to humiliate. He gave her a barely perceptible nod. Your call. Elena stepped onto the mat. No ceremony, no warming up, just movement. The instructor spoke carefully. We'll do a light demonstration, 20% speed, just showing technique. Kane's voice cut in again. Nah, let's make it real. Full speed, full contact, let's see what a SEAL can actually do. 60 operators watching, waiting. This was about more than training. This was about proving the point Kane had been making for 12 straight days. Lieutenant, are you comfortable with that? Elena faced Tynes. Analyzed his stance. Weight distribution. The slight forward lean of a kicker, the loose shoulders of someone confident in their striking. Her father's voice whispered through her memory. Every opponent tells you how to beat them, baby girl. You just have to listen. Yes, Chief. Full contact is fine. They touched gloves. Elena's hands looked tiny against Tynes's. The referee raised his hand. Fight! Tynes exploded forward. A faint jab followed by a spinning back kick. Textbook taekwondo. The kick was fast, well executed. Would have looked spectacular on a highlight reel. Elena wasn't there. She had read the setup the moment Tynes shifted his weight, had seen the telegraphed rotation of his hips. The spin was committed. No way to adjust mid-motion. She stepped inside the arc of his kick, let his momentum carry him past her. Tynes completed his spin slightly off balance, searching for a target that had moved. Elena was behind him now. She hooked his lead leg with her foot. Simple sweep, using his own forward momentum against him. Physics, leverage, timing. Tynes's eyes widened as his balance disappeared. He went down hard, back slamming into the mat. Elena followed him down, dropped into side control. Tynes immediately tried to bridge to create space. Good instincts. But Elena had already trapped his near arm, her legs locked around his neck and shoulder in a perfect arm triangle choke. Tynes's other arm came up trying to push her off. The obvious defense? The expected response. Elena used that momentum, rolled them both, ended up mounted on his chest. The arm triangle locked deeper, her shoulder pressing into his neck, his own shoulder pressing into the other side. Carotid arteries compressed. Blood flow to the brain cut off. Tynes's eyes went wide. He tried to buck her off, tried to push, tried to escape. Nothing worked. His face turned red, then purple. He tapped. 3 quick slaps against the mat. Elena released immediately, rose to her feet, extended her hand. 18 seconds. Start to finish. The gym stayed silent. You could have heard a pin drop on concrete. 60 operators staring at the smallest person in the room who had just put a black belt on his back in less time than it took to tie a shoe. Tynes took her hand. She pulled him to his feet. His expression had shifted from confidence to something Eleanor recognized. The first crack in certainty. The moment when what you believed ran headfirst into what you just experienced. "Good match, Corporal." Tynes rubbed his throat, stared at her. "Where did you learn that, my father? He taught me to grapple before I could ride a bike." Kane's voice shattered the moment. "Lucky shot. Anyone can get lucky once." The silence broke. Murmurs from the crowd. The instructor moved between Elena and Tynes, ready to call things done, but then Master Chief Holt Brannigan stepped forward. Elena hadn't seen him enter the gym, didn't know how long he'd been watching. Brannigan's weathered face was carved from granite, his eyes sharp despite his 62 years fixed on Kane with an intensity that could melt steel. "You're right, Staff Sergeant." Brannigan's voice was quiet, controlled, the kind of quiet that made people lean in to listen. "Once is luck. Anyone can get lucky once." Kane's smile returned. "Exactly what I... How about 6 times? The gym went silent again, every operator frozen. Elena's heart hammered against her ribs. She looked at Brannigan. He wasn't looking at her. He was looking at Kane. And what she saw in the old man's eyes wasn't anger. It was certainty. The kind of certainty that came from knowing something no one else in the room knew yet. Brannigan walked to the center of the mat. Every operator in the room knew who he was. A legend. A man who had earned his trident in 1982, who had fought in Grenada, Panama, Desert Storm, Somalia, Afghanistan, who had trained 3 generations of SEALs. When Brannigan spoke, people listened. "You have 6 Marines. Staff Sergeant Kane. Lieutenant Caldwell is 1 SEAL." He paused. "Let the math settle. Seems like uneven odds to me." Kane's expression shifted. Uncertain now. "Master Chief, I don't think here's what I think." Brannigan turned, addressing the entire gym. "We've got 2 weeks of joint training left. We're supposed to be building unit cohesion. But seems to me there's some doubt about standards. About capability. About whether everyone here earned their place." He turned back to Kane. "So, let's settle it. Exhibition match. Lieutenant Caldwell versus your entire squad. 1-on-1 matches. 6 consecutive fights. Full contact. No time limit per fight except exhaustion." The gym erupted. Voices overlapping. SEALs looked stunned. Marines looked eager. Elena stood perfectly still, her heart hammering so hard she could feel her pulse in her fingertips. 6 fights. Back to back. Against men who outweighed her by 50 to 115 pounds. She had never done that. Never even trained for that specifically. Kane recovered quickly. "What are the stakes?" Master Chief Brannigan smiled. The kind of smile that made Elena's stomach drop. "Lieutenant Caldwell wins, you issue a formal apology to every female service member on this base. Written, public, documented in your permanent file." Kane's jaw tightened. "And if she loses, she'll request a transfer of SEAL Team 5 and out of Naval Special Warfare entirely." Elena's blood went cold. Her career. Everything she had worked for since she was 13 years old. Since the day she stood in the rain holding her father's flag and promised herself she would become what he had been. All of it on the line, bet by someone else, without her permission. The gym buzzed with energy. Kane was nodding already, calculating, already certain of the outcome. His Marines were grinning. "You got a deal, Master Chief." The formation broke slowly. People lingered talking in clusters, already placing informal bets. Elena didn't hear any of it. She was walking, moving through the crowd without seeing faces. Out the gym door, into the evening air, toward the one person who owed her an explanation. She found Brannigan in his office, door open. He was sitting behind his desk, reading a copy of her father's notebook. The same notebook William Caldwell had given his best friend before his final deployment, with instructions to hold it until the time was right. Elena didn't know about the copy. She only knew the original locked in her footlocker, but her father had always been a man who planned for contingencies. The anger hit her like a wave. "You had no right. You bet my career without asking me." Brannigan looked up. His expression was calm, infuriatingly calm. Close the door, Elena. You bet my career without asking me. Everything I've built, everything I've survived. You put it on a mat and told a man who hates me that he could take it away. Brannigan set the notebook down carefully. You're right. I didn't ask. And you're right to be angry. Then why? Because if you don't fight this battle now, Kane will never stop. He'll go back to his unit and tell every Marine he meets that the female SEAL couldn't cut it, that she hid behind her teammates, that the standards were lowered. And every woman who comes after you will face the same wall you've been climbing for 12 days. Elena shook her head. That's not your decision to make. No, it's yours. Brannigan leaned forward. And you can walk away. Tell Captain Webb you don't accept the terms. Nobody will blame you. But I want you to know something first. Something about your father that I've never told you. Elena went still. The anger didn't disappear, but it made room, made space for the thing she could never resist. Information about the man she had lost at 13, the man whose absence had shaped every decision she had ever made. Brannigan's voice changed, softer now, carrying the weight of memories that spanned decades. Mogadishu, October 1993. Your father was 29 years old. His team got separated during the extraction. 4 enemy fighters cornered him in an alley. No weapon, no backup, no way out except through them. Elena knew this story, or thought she did, the official version, the citation that accompanied her father's Silver Star. He fought for 11 minutes. Brannigan's eyes were distant now, seeing something 30 years gone. 4 men, 11 minutes, 3 broken ribs, dislocated shoulder, concussion. He put all 4 of them down using nothing but his hands and the system he'd been developing since he was 20 years old. Phantom Protocol. Brannigan nodded. But here's what the citation doesn't say. Here's what your father never told anyone except me. He looked at Elena with an intensity that pinned her to the spot. He didn't develop that system for himself. He developed it for you. Elena couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. After Mogadishu, your father came home and rewrote everything. Every technique, every principle, every drill. He redesigned the entire system around one question. How could someone small beat someone big? How could technique overcome strength? How could intelligence defeat size? He looked at the notebook on his desk. Every page in that book was written for a girl who weighed 125 pounds and stood 5'3". He knew what you would face. Knew the doubts, the comments, the men like Kane, and he spent 15 years making sure you had the tools to beat them all. Elena sank into the chair across from Brannigan's desk. Her legs wouldn't hold her anymore. The anger was gone, replaced by something vast and aching. Her father, dead 13 years, still protecting her, still preparing her for battles he would never see. He created this for me. Every page, every technique, every principle written for you. The room was quiet for a long time. Elena stared at the notebook. Her father's handwriting on the cover. Precise. Engineer's script. The handwriting of a man who understood that bodies were machines and machines could be mastered. I'll fight. Brannigan nodded, not surprised, not relieved, just certain. The way he'd been certain since he walked onto that gym floor. We have 7 days. Your father gave us the playbook. Now we train. The week that followed redefined Elena's understanding of exhaustion. And it redefined her understanding of her father. 4:30 every morning. Brannigan waiting outside her barracks room with coffee and a grim expression that said today would be worse than yesterday. He was always right. Day 1 and 2. Grappling. Not normal grappling, not SEAL standard grappling, something beyond that. 5-minute rounds against rotating opponents. Fresh SEALs cycling in while Elena accumulated fatigue like debt. 25 rounds, over 2 hours of continuous combat. Her body became a collection of bruises and exhaustion. But the real lesson wasn't endurance, it was joint manipulation. Brannigan opened her father's notebook to page 15. Small joints break before large muscles tear. Target fingers, wrists, elbows, knees, quick, devastating. Move on. No wasted motion, no showing off. Your dad was an engineer before he was a SEAL, Brannigan explained. He understood that bodies are just machines. Machines break when you exceed their tolerances. They drilled for 14 hours. Just joint manipulation. Elena's hands learned to see every finger, every wrist, every elbow as a lever, a fulcrum. A mechanical system designed to fail under the right pressure applied at the right angle. Day 3. Observation. Brannigan made Elena watch Kane's Marines during normal training. Your father's second rule. Every warrior has a tell. Find it in 10 seconds. Exploit it in one move. Elena watched. Really watched. With the analytical eye her father had trained into her since childhood. Sergeant Briggs. They called him Tiny. 6'4", 240 pounds. Massive but slow. When he got tired, he dropped his left hand consistently. A habit carved into muscle memory from years of heavy weapons training. The weight of the weapon pulling that arm down. Thousands of hours creating a flaw he didn't even know existed. Corporal Hollister, Muay Thai trained. Lean, flexible, technical. Used his reach advantage well, but exposed his neck when transitioning between strikes. A defensive gap. Probably looked smooth in the gym. Would be fatal against someone who noticed. Corporal Wolf, wrestler. College level by the look of his stance. Strong, good pressure, but predictable. Every takedown came from the same setup, same level change, same penetration step, like a musician who only knew one song. Corporal Tynes. She had already fought him. He would be angry, reckless, wanting revenge. That made him predictable too. Lance Corporal Decker. They called him Hound. Pure brawler. Street fighter. No formal training. Big wind-up on every punch. Telegraphed everything 3 moves in advance. And Kane, the leader, the champion. 12 years of boxing. Golden Gloves winner. Technical, smart, disciplined. But there was something else. Elena watched him throw punches during pad work. His right cross was devastating. His left jab was sharp and fast. But watch long enough and you saw it. The right shoulder. When he fully extended his right hand just for a split second, his face tightened. Pain. Old injury. Probably a rotator cuff tear that never healed properly. He favored that shoulder subtly. But it was there. Elena recorded everything in a small notebook. Her father's system on one side, her observations on the other. "You're not just learning to fight," Brannigan said. "You're learning to win before the fight starts. Days 4 and 5, speed and transitions, guard passes, sweeps, submissions, everything flowing, no pause, no reset, one technique into the next, into the next. Thousands of repetitions until Elena's body moved without thinking. Speed isn't about being fast," Brannigan told her. "It's about being gone before they arrive." Day 5 afternoon, visualization. Brannigan sat Elena down, made her close her eyes. Visualize each fight, beginning to end. See yourself winning. Feel yourself winning. Your mind can't tell the difference between vivid visualization and real experience, so we give your mind 6 victories before you step on that mat. Elena saw each opponent, saw their weaknesses, saw herself exploiting them. 6 times. 6 different ways. "Your body will do what your mind has already done," Brannigan said. "But more importantly, when you're exhausted, when you're hurt, when you want to quit, your mind will remember that you've already won. Already been here. Already survived." Day 6. Recovery. Easy swimming in the Pacific, ice baths, sleep. Elena's body needed the rest. Her mind needed the sharpness. Day 7. The evening before the fight. Brannigan found Elena in her room. He carried a small bag. "How you feeling?" "Terrified." "Good. Your dad was terrified before every mission. Said fear kept you sharp, made you careful. Only idiots weren't scared." Brannigan sat down, pulled something from the bag. Black cloth, worn and faded. "Your dad wanted you to have this. Made me promise years ago. Said to give it to you when you faced your biggest challenge." He unfolded the cloth. A belt. Black belt. Krav Maga. The edges frayed from years of use, the black faded to grey in places, soft from 15 years of sweat and training and combat. This was his. He earned it in 1990, wore it for 15 years, every training session, every deployment, said it carried his spirit, his technique, everything he'd learned. Brannigan held it out. Time to pass it on. Elena took the belt with trembling fingers. The material was soft, worn smooth by her father's hands. She could almost feel him in the fabric. His determination, his love. The engineer who became a warrior, who became a father, who created a system to protect the daughter he wouldn't live to see grow up. Thank you, Master Chief. Don't thank me yet. You still have to fight. Brannigan stood. Then he stopped at the door. Your dad used to say one more thing before missions. What pain is just weakness leaving the body? You're about to lose a lot of weakness tonight. Brannigan left. Elena sat alone holding her father's belt. Tomorrow night she would walk into that gym wearing it. 6 men would try to break her. 6 men who outweighed her, who outreached her, who believed with absolute certainty that she couldn't. She opened her father's notebook to page 83, the last entry. His handwriting slightly shakier than earlier pages. He had known somehow, known that this deployment might be his last. Elena. If you're reading this, I'm probably gone. I'm sorry I won't be there to see you become what I know you'll be. The strongest, smartest, most capable warrior I could imagine. But here's what I need you to remember. Being strong isn't about never falling. It's about standing back up. Being brave isn't about never being scared. It's about fighting anyway. And being a warrior isn't about never crying. It's about crying, wiping your eyes, and getting back to work. I love you, baby girl. Make them remember your name. Dad. Elena read the words 3 times. Then she closed the notebook, pressed it against her chest, felt her father's presence wrap around her like armor, the strongest armor she had ever worn. Tomorrow she would fight, not for Brannigan, not for the SEALs, not even for her father, for the 13-year-old girl standing in the rain holding a folded flag who promised herself she would become something extraordinary. Tomorrow she would keep that promise. Saturday arrived with cruel cheerfulness. 72 degrees, light breeze from the ocean, perfect Southern California weather. The kind of evening that belonged to barbecues and cold beer and watching the sun melt into the Pacific. Not to 6 fights that would determine the rest of Elena Caldwell's life. The gymnasium was packed. Every SEAL on base, every Marine, support personnel, officers enlisted, maybe 400 people jammed into a space meant for 200. Bodies pressed against walls, people standing on benches. The energy was electric volatile, the kind of atmosphere that preceded something historic or something terrible. In the center of the room, a regulation boxing ring. Ropes, canvas, proper lighting. The base commander had made this official, sanctioned, legal. Whatever happened tonight would be documented, witnessed, and permanent. Elena entered through the side door at 2000 hours exactly. She wore standard PT gear, black shorts, grey navy t-shirt, no jewelry, no distractions. Her father's black belt tied around her waist. The faded fabric against her hip felt like a hand on her shoulder, like he was walking beside her. The crowd saw her. Noise dropped by half. Whispers. Pointing, speculation. 400 people looking at a woman who weighed 125 pounds and was about to fight 6 men consecutively. Some of those faces showed admiration. Some showed pity. Most showed the morbid curiosity of people who expected to witness something they would talk about for years. Master Chief Brannigan waited in her corner. He had assembled a proper team. 2 SEALs to work her corner. Water, towels, medical supplies, ice. Everything arranged with the precision of a man who had prepared fighters for combat his entire life. Elena climbed through the ropes. The canvas felt solid under her feet. Real. This was happening. Across the ring, Kane and his Marines were laughing, loose, confident. Tynes shadow boxing. Hollister stretching. Wolf and Decker bumping fists. Briggs cracking his massive knuckles, each pop like a small firecracker. 6 men who believed this was already over. Kane caught Elena's eye across the ring. Smiled, mouthed 2 words. Try crying. Cry. Captain Nolan Webb climbed into the ring carrying a microphone, his dress uniform pressed sharp enough to cut paper. His voice carried the authority of command. Good evening. What we are about to witness is an exhibition match sanctioned under regulations governing hand-to-hand combat training. Medical personnel are standing by. Rules are simple. Standard MMA regulations. No strikes to groin or throat. No eye gouging or fish hooking. Match continues until submission, knockout, or referee stoppage. He paused. Let the gravity settle over the room like a blanket. Lieutenant Caldwell will face 6 opponents consecutively. 2-minute rest between each match. Fight order has been determined by rank lowest to highest. Webb looked at Elena. Lieutenant, do you accept these terms? Yes, sir. Staff Sergeant Kane, do your Marines accept these terms? Yes, sir. Can't wait, sir. Then let's begin. First match. Lieutenant Elena Caldwell versus Corporal Garrett Tynes. The crowd roared. Elena walked to her corner. Brannigan grabbed her shoulders. His grip was iron. His eyes were fire. Remember everything. Fast beats strong. Technique beats size, and you've already beaten him once. He'll be angry this time. Good. Angry makes mistakes. You stay calm, stay technical, end it quick. 5 more after him. Elena nodded, breathed, felt her heartbeat slow despite the adrenaline flooding her system. She had visualized this moment 100 times, had seen herself win 100 times. Her body knew what to do. Tynes entered the ring shirtless. Lean muscles, taekwondo tattoo on his ribs. He bounced on his toes, eager, already planning his spinning kick highlight reel. Already imagining redemption for the 18-second humiliation in the gym. The referee called them to center ring, touch gloves, keep it professional. They touched gloves. Elena's hands looked tiny. The size difference was visible from every seat in the house. Fight! Tynes came forward fast, feint jab, feint low kick. Setting up his spinning back kick. The same technique that had failed him in the gym. But fighters returned to what they knew, especially angry fighters. Especially fighters who believed the first time was a fluke. The spin started. Beautiful technique. Fast. Powerful. Elena wasn't there. Again. She had read the setup the moment Tynes shifted his weight. Stepped inside the arc. Let his momentum carry him past. Hooked his lead leg. Simple sweep. Tynes crashed hard. Elena dropped into side control. Trapped his arm. Legs locked around his neck and shoulder. Arm triangle choke. Tighter than the first time. Faster. No hesitation. Tynes' face turned red. Purple. He tapped. 3 quick slaps against the canvas. 15 seconds. First fight done. 5 more to go. The crowd erupted. But Elena was already moving back to her corner. Already calculating. Already conserving. Because the first fight was never the test. The test was what came after and after and after. Until your body had nothing left and you had to find something deeper. Brannigan handed her water. Drink. Small sips. 2 minutes goes fast. Elena drank. Glanced at the crowd. 400 faces. Some stunned. Some excited. The SEALs were cheering. The Marines quieter now. Less certain. Kane stood with his remaining fighters. His expression had shifted, not quite worried yet, but the easy confidence had cracked. The referee called time. 2-minute rest complete. Next match. Lieutenant Caldwell versus Lance Corporal Nate Decker. Decker entered the ring with murder in his eyes. They called him Hound for good reason. 6'1", 200 pounds of muscle and bad intentions. Tattoos covering both arms. Broken nose that had healed crooked. Street fighter written all over him. He didn't bounce or showboat like Tynes. Just walked to center ring with a predator's focus. Ain't nothing personal, ma'am. Just doing my job. I understand, Corporal. Fight. Decker charged immediately. No technique. No setup. Just raw aggression. A wild right hook aimed at Elena's head. The kind of punch that would end the fight, end the night, end the conversation permanently if it landed. Elena had watched him train all week, knew this was coming. Every punch Decker threw started the same way. Big wind-up, telegraphed from 3 moves away. Powerful but predictable, like a freight train. Devastating if it hit you, useless if you stepped off the tracks. She stepped inside the arc of his swing, let his fist pass over her shoulder close enough to feel the wind. Decker's momentum carried him forward, off balance, committed. Elena moved with him. Classic judo hip throw. Her hip became a fulcrum. His body mass became leverage. Physics and timing instead of strength. Decker went airborne. 200 pounds of marine lifting off the canvas, rotating through space and slamming into the mat from 4 feet up. The impact drove the air from his lungs. But Decker was tough. Started pushing up immediately, trying to get back to his feet, back to his comfortable striking range where his power meant something. Elena didn't let him. Dropped onto his back as he rose to hands and knees, wrapped her legs around his waist, arms snaking around his throat before he could defend. Rear naked choke. One arm across the throat, the other hand gripping her own bicep. Decker's neck trapped in the V of her arms. Carotid arteries compressed from both sides. Decker's hands came up, grabbed her forearm, tried to pull it away. He was strong, much stronger than Elena. His grip felt like iron clamps on her skin. But strength didn't matter here. The choke was locked. Proper technique. Perfect angles. No amount of pulling would break it. Decker tried to stand. Elena's legs locked tighter. He managed to get one foot under him, then the other. Actually stood up with Elena on his back like a backpack. The crowd gasped. 200 pounds of man carrying 125 pounds of woman, stumbling forward, trying to ram her into the corner post, trying to crush her against the turnbuckle. Elena squeezed tighter, felt his pulse hammering against her forearm, fast at first, then slower. Tap, Corporal. It's over. Decker shook his head, stubborn, proud, refusing to submit, even as consciousness slipped away. His legs wobbled, buckled. They went down together. Elena held the choke. Professional, controlled, knowing exactly how much pressure, how long to maintain it. Decker's arms went slack, his body went limp. The referee rushed in, checked his eyes, waved frantically. "Stop, he's out!" Elena released immediately, rolled away, knelt while the medical team rushed the ring. Decker lay unconscious. 30 seconds later, his eyes fluttered open. Confusion, disorientation, then awareness. He looked at Elena. Something like respect crossed his face before embarrassment replaced it. 2 down. 4 to go. Elena's breathing was harder now. 2 fights, 2 submissions. But she had held that choke longer than expected. Had worked harder than the first match. The fatigue was building, not dramatically, not obviously, but it was there, a weight she would carry into every remaining fight. Third match. Corporal Preston Wolfe, the wrestler, 6 feet even, 185 pounds. Broad shoulders and thick legs, college level, maybe Division 1. His takedowns were powerful, his top pressure suffocating. But wrestlers had patterns. Wolfe circled cautiously. He had watched 2 teammates lose. Knew rushing was suicide. He worked angles, probed with his hands, looking for the moment to shoot. 30 seconds of chess, neither committing. The crowd growing restless. Then Wolfe dropped his level, shot in low, perfect double leg attempt. Fast, explosive. Elena sprawled, hips down, weight driving onto his shoulders. Wolfe's takedown stalled. Elena circled behind him, took his back. Body triangle locked. Legs wrapped so tight Wolfe couldn't breathe fully. She controlled his posture, one hand on his forehead. Pulling back. Short punches from back mount. Controlled but firm, not meant to knock him out, meant to make him choose, protect his head or protect his neck. He couldn't do both. 5, 6, 7 punches. Wolfe's arms were tiring. Defending strikes and trying to escape was burning energy at a rate he couldn't sustain. The referee stepped in. Stop. TKO. 2 minutes and 8 seconds. 3 down. Halfway. Elena sat on the corner stool. Her shoulders were burning. Her legs felt like concrete. 3 fights. Maybe 8 minutes of actual combat. but 8 minutes of maximum output, of technique, of control, of violence at the highest level her body could produce. She had never done this before, never fought 3 trained opponents back to back. Brannigan's voice was steady. 3 down, halfway. How you feeling? Tired? Embrace it. They're tired watching. You're tired doing. But you're winning. Keep winning. 4th match, Corporal Shane Hollister, the Muay Thai fighter. This was the fight that nearly ended everything. Hollister entered carefully. 5'11", 180 pounds, lean and flexible, the best pure striker in Kane's squad. He was technical, smart. He had watched 3 teammates lose. He knew what Elena could do on the ground. He would not go to the ground. They met at center ring. Hollister's expression was serious, focused. No smiling, no talking. Respect, ma'am, but I'm not going out like they did. Fight. Hollister started orthodox, traditional Muay Thai stance. Hands high, elbows tight, weight distributed evenly. He didn't rush, didn't showboat, just moved. Professional. Elena circled, hands protecting her head, watching his eyes, his shoulders, his hips. Hollister threw a low kick, testing. Elena checked it. The impact echoed through her shin. Another low kick, another check. He was building rhythm, setting patterns, making her react to his strike so she wouldn't see the real attack. 40 seconds of careful exchange, both fighters technical, both measuring distance. Then Hollister threw an elbow. Fast, well disguised. Elena slipped it, but barely. Felt the wind against her cheek. Close. Too close. She countered with a jab. Hollister blocked, separated. More circling. Hollister threw a combination. Jab, cross, low kick, proper mechanics. Elena blocked the first 2. Checked the kick. Then Hollister threw a knee, aimed at her midsection. Fast. Committed. Elena tried to catch it, tried to execute the same technique she had drilled 1,000 times, but her arms were tired. Her reaction time a fraction slower than it needed to be. The knee caught her in the ribs, not full force. She had partially deflected it, but enough. Pain exploded through her left side. She stumbled sideways. Hollister pressed, threw another combination. Jab connected, split Elena's lip. She tasted copper. Cross glanced off her shoulder, then an elbow. This one landed clean, right above Elena's left eye. Her head snapped sideways. Stars burst across her vision. White hot, blinding. Elena staggered. Her legs weren't working properly. 4 fights of lactic acid accumulation, of micro-trauma, of exhaustion eating at her speed, her coordination, everything that kept her alive. Another combination. Another elbow caught her ear. Her head rang like a bell. The crowd had gone quiet. The SEALs who had been cheering were silent now. This looked different from the first 3 fights. This looked like a woman losing. Hollister threw a straight right. Hard. Accurate. Elena's guard was too slow. The punch connected with her jaw. Not cleanly, not perfectly, but enough to buckle her knees. Elena went down, 1 knee on the canvas. 400 people held their breath. The silence was absolute. Elena knelt there, 1 knee down, blood running from her split lip, her left eye already swelling, the taste of copper filling her mouth, her body screaming to stop, to tap, to end this before it got worse. She could hear Kane's voice from across the ring, barely audible, almost gentle. Stay down, princess. It's over. Elena's hand touched the canvas, felt the rough fabric under her fingers, felt the solidness of it, the reality. And in that moment, kneeling on the canvas with 400 people watching her fall, she heard another voice. Not Kane's, not Brannigan's, her father's. Being strong isn't about never falling. It's about standing back up. Elena stood up. The crowd made a sound, not a cheer. Something deeper, something more primal. The sound human beings make when they witness someone refuse to break. Hollister was already moving. Another knee, aimed at Elena's head this time. Finish the fight, end it now, while she was hurt. But Elena had been waiting for this. Not consciously, not strategically, instinctively. The way her father had trained her body to respond. When the knee came, her hands were there, both hands on his shin, catching it, controlling it. Hollister was balanced on one leg, committed to the technique. Elena twisted, used his momentum, jumped, her legs wrapping around Hollister's neck and arm while airborne. Flying triangle. The most spectacular technique her father had ever taught her, the most difficult to execute, the most devastating when it worked. They crashed to the canvas together. Elena's legs locked around Hollister's neck, one leg across his throat, the other hooked behind his head, his own arm trapped against his neck by her thigh. Hollister fought, hard, 30 seconds, 40, 50, his face turned red, sweat dripping, breathing labored. He tried to posture up, tried to slam her, tried everything. Elena held on, her legs burned, her core screamed, but she held on. Hollister tapped. 1 minute and 44 seconds. Elena released, stood, barely. She grabbed the ring rope to keep herself upright. Her legs were shaking visibly now. No way to hide it. Blood on her lip, eye swelling, body trembling, but she was standing. 4 down, 2 to go. The biggest and the best. Brannigan pulled her to the corner. Ice on the eye, water, towel. His voice low enough that only Elena could hear. That was the hardest fight. You took his best shots and got back up. The next one is big but slow. The last one is skilled, but you know his weakness. 2 more, that's all. 5th match, Sergeant Tyler Briggs, the Giant. Briggs stood 6'4", 240 pounds. The biggest man Elena had ever fought, period. 115 pounds heavier than her, 13 inches taller, reached like a gorilla. He climbed through the ropes and the ring shook slightly under his weight. Elena stood. Her legs barely cooperated. She locked her knees, willed herself upright. They met at center ring. Briggs looked down at her. He looked apologetic. "Ma'am, I don't want to hurt you." "Then don't, Sergeant, just fight." Briggs stalked forward slowly, patient, smart. He had learned from watching. His reach advantage was massive. He could control distance, make Elena come to him, pick her apart from outside. 30 seconds. Briggs just worked his jab. Long. Snapping. Each one passing inches from Elena's face. She couldn't get inside, couldn't close the distance. He was too big. His arms were too long. 45 seconds, a minute. Briggs threw another jab. Elena pressed forward. More aggressive now. Forced Briggs to work, to jab more, to move more, to keep his hands up. Elena wasn't trying to hit him. She was trying to tire him. 240 pounds of muscle required enormous energy to maintain. Those arms had to stay up. That body had to keep moving. And when muscles got tired, habits emerged. Old patterns, ingrained flaws. 1 minute 30. Briggs was breathing harder. His arms had been up for 90 seconds. Elena watched his left hand, still up, still protecting his jaw, still disciplined. 1 minute 45. Briggs threw a right cross. Big, powerful. Elena ducked under. And there it was. Just for a second. Briggs's left hand dropped 6 inches, maybe 8, recovering from the big right. The habit asserting itself through fatigue. The floor carved by years of heavy weapons training that pulled his left arm down. Elena moved. Didn't think. Just reacted. She stepped inside Briggs's guard, got past his reach, jumped. Flying armbar. Her body horizontal in midair, her legs wrapping around Briggs's extended right arm, all her weight falling backward. Briggs's eyes went wide. He tried to pull back, but his arm was trapped. Elena's legs locked around it, her hips pressed against his elbow joint. They crashed to the canvas. Elena's momentum and body weight pulled Briggs forward. He fell to his knees. His arm hyperextended. The elbow joint bent the wrong way. The pop was audible. 400 people heard it. Briggs screamed, tapped frantically with his free hand, slapping the canvas over and over. Elena released instantly, rolled away. Medical team rushing the ring, 2 minutes and 17 seconds, 5 men down, but Elena's body was shutting down. Her legs wouldn't stop shaking. Her vision was blurring. Her hands trembled so badly she couldn't hold the water bottle Brannigan pressed into her fingers. He poured it into her mouth instead. Then the nausea hit. Elena turned away from the crowd, leaned over the bucket in her corner, and vomited. Her body's final protest against what she was doing to it. 5 fights, 17 minutes. Every system approaching failure. Brannigan poured water over her head. Cold. Shocking. It helped. Barely. His voice was a whisper now. Just for her. Your father. Mogadishu. 4 men. 11 minutes. 3 broken ribs. Dislocated shoulder. You've put down 5 men in 17 minutes. 1 left. Just 1. Elena's voice was barely audible. Cracked. Broken. The voice of someone who had given everything and was being asked for more. I don't know if I have enough left. Brannigan grabbed her chin, made her look at him. His eyes were wet. The first time she had ever seen emotion crack through his iron exterior. You don't need strength. You need heart. And you have more heart than anyone I've ever trained, including your father. The referee called time. Last match. The crowd noise swelled to something enormous. Last match. Lieutenant Elena Caldwell versus Staff Sergeant Dominic Kane. Kane climbed through the ropes. Fresh, rested, not even breathing hard. He had spent 20 minutes watching, learning, adjusting his game plan. Every mistake his Marines had made was catalogued and discarded. He wouldn't rush, wouldn't be predictable, wouldn't give her the easy openings. Elena stood. Her legs shook. She walked to center ring through sheer willpower, through something that existed beyond physical capacity, beyond training, beyond technique. The thing her father had written about on page 83, standing back up. They touched gloves. Kane's expression had changed. The smirk was gone. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something professional, dangerous. You've earned my respect tonight, Lieutenant. But this ends now. We'll see, Staff Sergeant. Fight! Kane didn't rush. Textbook boxing stance, orthodox, left foot forward, hands protecting his head, weight balanced. He threw a jab, fast, snapping. Elena slipped it, another jab, slipped again. But these weren't attacks. They were measurements. Kane was calibrating distance, finding his range, building the rhythm that would let him dismantle her with combinations. He threw a 1-2. Jab, cross. Elena blocked the jab. The cross glanced off her shoulder. Real power behind it. Then a hook. Elena ducked. Came up inside his guard. Tried to clinch. Tried to take him down. Change the fight to her fight. Kane sprawled. Good wrestling defense for a boxer. Pushed her away. Reset to striking range. He was making her play his game. Standing. Boxing. Where his 12 years of experience and his fresh legs and his undamaged body gave him every advantage. Another combination. Jab, jab, cross, hook. The hook caught Elena on the ear. Her head snapped sideways. Stars again. The crowd gasped. Kane pressed. Another combination. The jab got through. Opened the cut on her lip wider. Fresh blood ran down her chin. 1 minute. Kane was winning, landing cleaner shots. Elena was too tired, too slow, her reactions a half step behind. And a half step was the difference between slipping a punch and eating it. 2 minutes. More combinations caught Elena clean. Right eye swelling further, lip bleeding freely. Her vision blurred. She saw the opening twice. Kane's right shoulder. The weakness. The old injury. But she was too exhausted to capitalize. The moments passed before her tired body could respond. The bell rang. 3 minutes. Round 1 complete. Elena stumbled to her corner. Collapsed onto the stool. Brannigan was there. Water, towel, ice for her eye. He's winning! I can't touch him. Yes, you can. He's favoring that right shoulder. I saw it twice. He winced on the extension. You saw it too. Brannigan grabbed her face, made her focus. Stop trying to outbox a boxer. You can't. You're a grappler. Get inside. Take him down. Make it your fight. I'm too tired. Then be tired on top of him. Be tired while you're choking him. But don't be tired while he's punching you in the face. The referee called time. 1 minute rest complete. Elena stood. Her legs barely held her. She walked to center ring. Kane looked fresh. Confident. Not even breathing hard. He had controlled the first round completely. Round 2. Fight. Kane came forward. Same technical precision. Jab. Elena slipped. Another jab. Slipped again. But this time, instead of circling away, Elena pressed forward. Got inside his reach. Kane tried to push her away. Create distance. Get back to boxing range. Elena grabbed his right arm. The punching arm. The arm connected to the shoulder that had been damaged years ago and never properly healed. She pulled. Used his own push against her. When they push, you pull. Kane's balance shifted. Just slightly. Just enough. Elena hooked his leg, dropped her weight, basic trip, nothing fancy. They went down together. Kane tried to control her from bottom, tried to create guard, but Elena passed immediately. Years of grappling experience overriding her exhaustion. She got to side control. Kane bucked. Tried to create space. Elena moved with him, flowed with every movement he made, got to his back as he turned. Now she had the position she wanted. Kane face down, Elena on his back, her legs wrapped around his waist, hooks in, body triangle locked. Kane tried to stand, pushed up with his hands. Elena went with him, stayed glued to his back. They got to their knees. Kane still trying to shake her. But the body triangle held. Her arms worked for his neck. Kane defended well, chin down, hands protecting his throat, boxing fundamentals saving him. Disciplined even on the ground. Elena threw short punches to his ribs. Not devastating, just uncomfortable, making him react, making him choose between protecting his ribs and protecting his neck. Kane tried to grab her wrists. That opened his neck, slightly. Elena's arm snaked in, got under his chin. Her other hand grabbed her own bicep. The choke was there, but not deep enough. Kane's chin was down, compressing his jaw but not his throat. It hurt, made him miserable. But it wasn't the finish. 30 seconds of battle. Kane defending, Elena attacking, neither willing to give an inch. Then Kane made his mistake, tired, frustrated, hurt. He tried to pull Elena's arm away from his throat, used both hands, committed fully to breaking the choke. That removed his hands from his neck defense. Elena adjusted, got her forearm deeper, across his throat now, not his jaw. The choke locked properly. The carotid arteries compressed from both sides. Kane felt it, knew it. His eyes went wide. He tried to tuck his chin. Too late. The choke was in. He had maybe 10 seconds of consciousness left. Maybe less. Kane didn't tap. Stubborn. Proud. The same pride that had started this entire confrontation. The same arrogance that had driven him to lean close on that first morning and whisper those words. 5 seconds. Kane's movements got sluggish, uncoordinated. His hands fell away from her arm. 3 seconds. His eyes rolled back. His arms went slack. His body collapsed forward. The referee rushed in, checked his eyes, waved frantically. Stop, he's out. Elena released, rolled away, lay on the canvas, staring at the ceiling. Body broken, will intact. 6 men, 6 victories, 22 minutes, the gymnasium exploded, 400 people on their feet. Screaming. The noise was physical. A wall of sound that washed over everything. Seals chanting, Marines staring. The impossible made real by a woman who weighed 125 pounds and refused to stay down. Medical personnel revived Kane. It took longer this time. 30 seconds of unconsciousness. His eyes fluttered open. Confusion. Disorientation. Then awareness. Then something Elena hadn't expected. Shame. He looked at her, still lying on the canvas 10 feet away. Their eyes met across the ring, and in that moment something passed between them that went beyond the fight, beyond the competition, beyond 12 days of insults and doubt. Recognition. One warrior seeing another. Elena stood. It took everything she had, walked over on legs that barely functioned, extended her hand. Kane stared at it, pride warring with something deeper, something that had been buried under 8 years of anger and guilt and grief. He took her hand, let her pull him up. The crowd's roar intensified. Elena raised Kane's hand alongside her own. Warriors recognizing warriors. The gesture quieted the crowd slightly, enough for Kane to lean close, speak so only she could hear. I was wrong about everything, I know. How do you know? Because you're still here, still standing. Most men would have tapped. You fought until you went unconscious. That's a warrior staff sergeant. Gender doesn't change that. Kane's eyes were wet. Not quite crying, not quite able to hold it back. The weight of what had just happened pressing against the walls he had built over 8 years. Try not to cry, princess. That's what I said to you. Day 1. Elena smiled. Blood on her teeth from her split lip. Right eye nearly swollen shut. Body trembling from exhaustion. And here I am. Not crying, just winning. The gymnasium emptied slowly over the next 30 minutes. Medical personnel checked Elena and Kane thoroughly. Vitals, pupils, coordination, standard protocol. Elena sat on the ring apron, ice pack against her swollen eye. Her body felt like it had been through an industrial shredder, but she had won. The gymnasium was nearly empty when Kane spoke. They were alone now, sitting on opposite sides of the ring, ice packs and silence between them. You could have tapped me out differently. You chose the choke over the armbar, made me go unconscious instead of just hurting my arm like you did to Briggs. Elena considered this. You wouldn't have learned anything from an armbar. You needed to wake up on that canvas. Needed to understand what it feels like to lose completely. No excuses, no luck, just better technique winning. Kane was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Stripped of the parade ground volume. Stripped of the arrogance and the posturing and the 12 days of cruelty. What remained was raw, human, broken. Melissa would have liked you. Elena waited. My sister. She wanted to be a Marine. I told her she was too weak, too small, that she'd get people killed. His voice cracked. She died before I could apologize, before I could tell her I was wrong. I spent 8 years making sure no woman proved me wrong about her, because if they could do it, then she could have too, and I destroyed her dream for nothing. The confession hung in the air between them, and Elena understood. This fight had never really been about her. It had been about Melissa Kane, about a brother's guilt, about 8 years of grief turned into anger, turned into prejudice. About a man who couldn't face his own mistake, so he turned it into a mission against every woman who reminded him of what he had done. Elena let the silence hold for a moment. Then she spoke, carefully. The way you speak to someone whose wound you can see but cannot heal. Your sister didn't die because of your words. But every day you spend trying to prevent capable women from serving you dishonor her memory more than anything else you could do. I know that now. Kane finally looked at her, eyes red, face swollen from the choke, voice barely above a whisper. Teach me your system. Phantom protocol. Let me pass it on. Let me make sure the next Melissa doesn't face what mine did. What you did. Elena extended her hand. Not a handshake this time, a pact. A promise between two warriors who had broken each other and were choosing to rebuild. Kane took it. Tuesday morning, 0600. Bring your squad. 8 weeks changed everything. Not gradually, not gently, the way a river changes a canyon. Through relentless pressure applied in the same direction until what was hard became smooth and what was closed became open. Kane showed up Tuesday morning at 0550. 10 minutes early. His squad behind him. 6 Marines standing in the pre-dawn darkness outside the SEAL training facility. Nobody spoke. Nobody complained. They had watched their squad leader get choked unconscious by a woman 70 pounds lighter than him. They had watched him take her hand afterward. Whatever doubts remained had been beaten out of them on Saturday night. Elena taught them Phantom Protocol every morning for 8 weeks. Started with fundamentals. Joint manipulation, leverage, the physics of why small beats big when small understands engineering and big only understands force. She broke down her father's system the way her father had built it, piece by piece, principle by principle. Every technique explained not just as movement, but as mathematics. Kane became her best student. He approached training with obsessive focus. The same intensity he had once directed at tearing Elena down, he now directed at understanding everything she could teach him. He arrived first, left last, asked questions that showed genuine comprehension. Not just how to execute a technique, but why it worked. The angles, the pressure points, the biomechanics, they became something unexpected. Friends. Not the easy kind that forms over drinks and shared jokes. The kind forged through conflict and resolution, through respect earned in blood and sweat, through the understanding that comes only when two people have seen the worst of each other and chosen to move forward anyway. Elena discovered something about herself during those 8 weeks. She enjoyed teaching, breaking down her father's system for others, watching understanding dawn in a student's eyes when a technique clicked, seeing Kane demonstrate a submission he couldn't execute 3 weeks earlier. Her father had been an engineer who became a warrior. Elena was becoming a warrior who taught warriors. The system was passing forward exactly as her father had intended. Monday morning, 8 weeks after the fight. 500 personnel in dress uniforms. The entire base assembled on the parade ground. Officers and enlisted, SEALs and support staff. 6 Marines standing behind their squad leader. Elena stood at parade rest beside Captain Webb, Brannigan behind her, the morning sun already warm on her face. The bruises had healed weeks ago. The split lip was a faint scar. But what had changed inside her was permanent. Kane marched to the podium in immaculate dress blues, every ribbon perfectly aligned, every crease sharp enough to cut paper. But his face showed the weight of what he was about to do. Not fear, not reluctance. The weight of accountability, of standing before 500 people and admitting that everything you believed was wrong. Good morning. I'm Staff Sergeant Dominic Kane, United States Marine Corps Force Recon. I stand before you to issue a formal apology. His voice carried across the parade ground. Strong, clear, no hesitation. The parade ground volume that had once been used to humiliate, now used to confess. To Lieutenant Elena Caldwell. To every female service member on this base. To every woman who has ever worn the uniform of the United States Armed Forces. I was wrong. He paused. Let the word settle over 500 people. I was completely, utterly, inexcusably wrong. I dismissed a fellow warrior based solely on gender. I allowed personal demons to become professional judgment. I said things designed to humiliate rather than evaluate. Kane's hands trembled at the podium, the only sign that this was costing him something. Saturday night, Lieutenant Caldwell defeated my entire squad, 6 trained Marines, back to back, while exhausted. She did it with technique, discipline, and warrior spirit that humbles me. She proved that capability has nothing to do with gender and everything to do with dedication and skill. He turned, faced Elena directly. 500 people watching a man dismantle his pride in public because honor demanded it. Lieutenant Caldwell, you are everything a warrior should be. I am sorry for doubting you. I am sorry for trying to break you. You have my deepest apology and my highest respect. Kane saluted. Perfect. Crisp. The salute of a Marine who understood that sometimes the bravest thing a warrior could do was admit defeat. Elena returned it, held it for 3 seconds, then dropped her hand. The applause started with the SEALs, spread through the formation. Even the Marines joined. Not because they were told to, because they had witnessed something rare. A man choosing honor over ego, accountability over comfort. The truth over the lie he had been telling himself for 8 years. 3 months later, everything changed again. Elena was running the obstacle course with Kane's squad when Captain Webb found her. His expression was the kind of carefully neutral that officers wore when they carried orders that would alter lives. Lieutenant Caldwell, conference room, immediately. Bring Staff Sergeant Kane. They jogged to the admin building. The conference room held senior officers and a civilian whose suit and watchful eyes said intelligence community louder than any badge. Sit. Webb's tone was clipped, professional. We have a situation. Yemen. 8 American contractors taken hostage 3 days ago by a terrorist cell. Intelligence puts them in a compound outside Sana'a. We're assembling a rescue force. SEAL Team 5 leads, Marine Force Recon supports. Webb's eyes locked on Elena. Lieutenant Caldwell, you will command the close quarters battle element. 12 operators, mixed SEAL and Marine. Your mission is simple. Get those hostages out alive. Elena's heart hammered. A real mission. Lives depending on her decisions. Her planning, her leadership. This was what everything had been building toward. The training, the fights, the transformation. Yes, sir, I accept. Staff Sergeant Kane, your squad will be part of Lieutenant Caldwell's element, under her command. Problems, Kane didn't hesitate. Not a fraction of a second. No, sir. It's an honor. 72 hours of controlled chaos followed. Intelligence updates every 6 hours. Equipment checks. Rehearsals on a mock-up compound built to satellite specifications. Elena designed the assault plan using everything she had learned, everything her father had written, everything Brannigan had taught her. The night before departure, Elena stood on the deck of USS Winston Churchill. The sun painted the sky orange and red over the Arabian Sea, the kind of sunset that made you think about the people you loved and the things you hadn't said. Brannigan found her at the rail. He had pulled strings to be aboard. Wouldn't let her do this without him watching. His face was older in this light. 62 years of service and sacrifice carved into every line. Your dad stood on a deck like this before Mogadishu. Same sunset, same nervous energy, same weight. Elena gripped the rail. I'm scared, Master Chief. What if someone dies because of my call? Then you live with it. Like every commander in history. But Elena, your plan is solid. Your team is ready. Trust yourself. Trust your training. Trust that your dad knew what he was doing when he created Phantom Protocol for you. 12 operators gathered in the hangar bay. Full combat gear, weapons, night vision. Elena stood before them. 12 sets of eyes waiting for her to lead. Some of those eyes had once doubted her. None of them doubted her now. She briefed them. 3 buildings, hostages in the central structure. 2nd floor, minimum 6 guards. Every phase covered, every contingency planned. Kane asked sharp questions. The SEALs offered refinements. By the end, everyone knew their role. Rules of engagement. Deadly force authorized. But hostage safety is priority 1. If you must choose between taking a shot and risking a hostage, you hold fire. We accept risk to ourselves, never to them. Questions. Silence. The silence of warriors ready for war. Gear up. We launch in 30. The insertion was flawless. 2 rigid hull inflatable boats hit the beach at 0215. No contact. The team moved inland. Fast. Silent. 2 miles through rough terrain in darkness. Elena led from the front. Kane behind her. The stack following like a single organism with 12 heartbeats. They reached the compound perimeter at 0255. Through night vision, Elena studied the layout. 3 sentries. Bored. Smoking. Completely unaware that death had arrived on their doorstep. She hand-signaled. 3 SEAL snipers moved into position. Elena counted down on her fingers. 3, 2, 1. 3 suppressed shots. 3 sentries dropped, silent. Elena moved forward and moved. The stack flowed behind her. They reached the building. Kane placed the breaching charge on the door. Silent count. 3, 2, 1. The charge detonated. Shaped, precise. The door blew inward. Elena was first through. HK 416 up. Night vision painting the world green and white, hallway clear. She moved. The stack flowed. 12 operators. 1 machine. Contact. 3 hostiles in the next room. Armed. Reacting to the breach. Elena's weapon spoke. Controlled bursts. 2 rounds. Center mass. Target down. Kane engaged the second. A SEAL took the third. 7 seconds. 3 threats neutralized. They kept moving. Stairs. Elena led the ascent. Top of stairs. Another hallway. Voices in Arabic. Angry. Confused. She moved fast, cleared the hallway, found the door, locked. Kane's shotgun breached it. One shot. The door crashed open. 8 Americans inside, bound, frightened, alive. Elena's team flooded in, cutting zip ties, checking injuries, moving hostages toward the exit. Then gunfire erupted from below. The compound was awake. Move now. The hostages were mobile, scared but able to run. The team hustled them toward the stairs. Kane and 3 Marines held rear guard, covering fire, suppressing the enemy. Ground floor. The courtyard was lit up, muzzle flashes everywhere. Going out front was suicide. Back door. Kane find it. Kane and his Marines peeled off. Elena and the SEALs held position. 30 seconds of methodical fire, making every round count. Kane's voice on the radio. Back door located. Clear path to extraction point. Move. Fighting withdrawal. Hostages center. Operators on the perimeter. They burst through the back door into darkness. The enemy was behind them now. Confused. Disorganized. They ran. 2 miles to the beach. The hostages struggled. Out of shape. Traumatized. But fear gave them speed. 1 mile from the beach the ambush hit. Muzzle flashes from a ridgeline. 15 hostiles. Heavy weapons. PKM machine gun fire tearing up the ground around them. Dirt and rock exploding. The team went prone, returned fire, but they were pinned. Couldn't advance with hostages in the open. Kane saw it first. A depression in the terrain. A fold in the earth that led around the ambush position. Caldwell, I'm flanking. Suppress for 30 seconds. Elena went full auto. The SEALs followed. Maximum firepower. Covering Kane's movement. Kane and 4 Marines moved fast and low, using the terrain. 20 seconds. Elena saw muzzle flashes shift direction. Kane's team engaging from the rear. The ambush collapsed, caught between 2 forces. Kane's team eliminated the threats. Professional, efficient. Then Elena heard it. Kane's voice on the radio. Strained, tight with pain. I'm hit. Right leg, can't walk. Elena made the decision in 1 heartbeat. The decision that her father would have made. The decision that defined the difference between someone who gave orders and someone who gave everything. Team secure hostages, move them to extraction point. I'm going back. Brannigan's voice from the ship, crackling through the radio. Negative. You're the commander. Send someone else. Not happening, Master Chief. Elena was already running, sprinting back toward the ridgeline, 60 yards under fire. Rounds snapping past her head, close enough to hear them split the air, close enough to feel them. She found Kane behind a rock, right leg bleeding, tourniquet already applied. Good training, but he couldn't walk, couldn't move, couldn't save himself. What are you doing? Shut up. Elena grabbed his tactical vest. Deadlifted him. Fireman's carry. 195 pounds of marine on her 125-pound frame. Physics, leverage, technique. The same principles that had won 6 fights were now saving 1 life. She ran. Kane over her shoulder. Legs burning, lungs screaming, vision narrowing to a tunnel. Kane returned fire from his position on her back, covering their retreat. Brass casings bouncing off her helmet. 50 yards. Her legs felt like they were filled with concrete. 40 yards. She couldn't feel her feet. 30 yards. Her team was there, laying covering fire, creating a corridor of safety. 20 yards. Her vision went grey at the edges. 10 yards. Elena's legs gave out. She collapsed. Kane rolled free. SEAL medics grabbed him, dragged him the last 10 yards to cover. Elena lay face down in the dirt, gasping, couldn't move. Every system in her body past its limit. Air support inbound. 30 seconds. Hold position. Brannigan's voice from the ship. Elena keyed her radio. 1 word. All she could manage. Copy. F-18. Hornets screamed overhead. 30mm cannons shredded the hostile positions. The incoming fire stopped. Instantly. Permanently. Extraction helicopters landed on the beach, MH-60S. Elena helped load the hostages, counted heads, 8 Americans, all accounted for. Then her team, 12 operators, all alive. Kane was last, medics working his leg. He grabbed Elena's hand as they loaded him onto the helicopter. "You saved my life. After everything I did, you're my Marine now, Staff Sergeant. Warriors don't leave anyone behind." Elena squeezed his hand. "Besides, we've got training Tuesday. You're not getting out of it." Kane laughed, then winced. Pain and joy sharing the same breath. "Yes, ma'am." The helicopters lifted off. Yemen falling away beneath them. Mission complete, 8 hostages rescued. 0 American KIA. 1 WIA, who would recover fully. Elena sat against the bulkhead, closed her eyes, let exhaustion take her. She had done it. Led a real mission, saved lives, proven her father's system worked. Not in a gym, not in a ring, in combat where it mattered most. 6 months later, Dam Neck Annex, Virginia Beach. Lieutenant Commander Elena Caldwell stood in a DevGru training facility. The promotion had come with the assignment. SEAL Team 6, the most elite unit in naval special warfare. The Yemen mission had made her career. The Navy recognized her leadership, her tactical acumen, her ability to unite diverse elements under pressure and make them perform. Kane had recovered fully. His leg healed clean. The Navy offered him a position as Marine liaison to DevGru. He accepted immediately. Didn't hesitate. Didn't need to think about it. Now they taught together. Advanced hand-to-hand combat. 32 students from every special operations branch. SEALs, Rangers, Marine Raiders, Air Force Pararescue. 30 men. 2 women. Elena called a volunteer for size disadvantage demonstration. A massive Ranger stepped forward. 6'5", 230 pounds. Size matters in combat. But not the way most people think. This Ranger has 80 pounds on me, 7 inches of reach. Every physical advantage you can measure. But watch. She demonstrated techniques. Speed overcoming strength, flexibility defeating rigidity, intelligence trumping power. The same principles her father had written in a leather notebook 20 years ago. The same principles that had put 6 Marines on their backs in 22 minutes. After class, a female Ranger raised her hand. "Ma'am, how do you overcome the mental aspect everyone's saying you're too small, too weak?" Elena looked at her. Saw herself at 13, at 23 in BUD/S, at 26 facing Kane for the first time. You don't overcome it, you make it irrelevant. You become so undeniably good that capability speaks louder than doubt. You earn respect through excellence that can't be ignored. Kane stepped forward. And for those of us who doubted, we eventually learn, sometimes the hard way. He touched his throat where the choke had compressed 6 months ago. "I got choked unconscious in front of 400 people. Best lesson I ever received." The class laughed. Training continued. The system passed forward. That afternoon, Elena walked across the DevGru compound toward the memorial garden. Black granite walls, engraved names. A place for remembering. The weight of sacrifice made permanent in stone. Brannigan waited there, retired now from active duty, but still in the area, still connected, still unable to completely let go of the life that had defined him for 32 years. He looked older, 63 now, more grey, more lines, but his eyes remained sharp. The eyes of a man who had seen everything and still chose to see more. "Master Chief," not the professional greeting, the genuine warmth of family, because that was what they had become. Not by blood, by something stronger, by shared sacrifice and shared loss and the shared weight of carrying forward one man's legacy. How's teaching good? Really good. Breaking down Dad's system. Seeing it click for students, it feels right. Like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Your dad would love that. He always said Phantom Protocol should outlive him. Looks like it will. They stood in comfortable silence, looking at the names on the granite. So many names. Brothers lost, friends gone, the price of being the tip of the spear. The cost that civilians never saw, and warriors never forgot. Elena found her father's name, touched the engraved letters with her fingertips. The same ritual she performed every time she came here. The same connection across 13 years and the divide between living and dead. Master Chief William Caldwell, I got orders today. Elena's voice was quiet, not sad, not excited. Something in between. Task Force Command, Afghanistan, high-value targets. 6 months minimum. You taking it, Elena was quiet for a moment. Yes, but not to prove anything. Not to show the world what a female SEAL can do. Because there are people who need help. Terrorists who need stopping. Someone has to do the work. Brannigan nodded slowly. Your dad would agree with that. But when I get back, I want leave, real leave. Go home, visit Mom. Stand at Dad's grave and tell him everything. Process this, feel it, let myself be human for a while. Brannigan looked at her. Really looked. Past the uniform and the rank and the reputation. Past the warrior and the instructor and the operator. Looked at the woman underneath all of it. The 13-year-old girl who had been turning herself into something unbreakable for so long, she had almost forgotten how to bend. Elena, how long since you cried? The question landed like a quiet grenade. Elena's jaw tightened. The same micro-reaction she had shown Kane on that first morning. The only tell she had. 13 years. Since the funeral. Since they handed me the flag. Brannigan was quiet. Dad told me to be stone, to be water, to be air, so I was. Through BUD/S. Through Hell Week. Through Kane, through Yemen. Through everything. I was so busy being unbreakable that I forgot how to break. And somewhere along the way I confused being strong with being numb. Your father cried, Brannigan said softly. After every mission where we lost someone, he'd find somewhere private, let it out. 5 minutes, 10, however long it took. Then he'd wipe his face, straighten his uniform, and walk back to his team like nothing happened. Elena stared at him. He was the strongest man I ever served with, the best operator I ever trained. And he cried, because he understood something most warriors never learn. That strength isn't about what you hold in, it's about what you carry forward. And you can't carry anything forward if you never set it down. Elena felt it then, the thing she had been holding back for 13 years. The weight she had been carrying since 2 officers in dress whites knocked on her mother's door. Since she stood in the rain, clutching a folded flag. Since she made a promise to become something extraordinary, and spent every day since proving she could. The tears came, not dramatically, not with sobs or sounds, they just came. Quiet, steady, running down her cheeks and falling onto her uniform. 13 years of grief, of loneliness, of being unbreakable when she wanted to be held, of proving herself when she wanted to be accepted, of carrying her father's legacy when she wanted to carry his hand. She cried for her father, for the little girl who lost him, for the woman who had spent 13 years becoming what he dreamed she could be, for Kane's sister Melissa who never got her chance, for the hostages in Yemen who went home to their families, for every name on that granite wall. Brannigan put his hand on her shoulder, didn't speak, just stood there, the way a father stands with his child when the world is too heavy and words are too small. 5 minutes passed, maybe 10. Elena wiped her eyes, straightened her uniform, took a breath, and something shifted inside her, something fundamental, like a bone that had been set wrong finally clicking into place. She wasn't broken. She was healing. Kane appeared at the garden entrance, hesitated when he saw them. Elena waved him over. He approached slowly, respectfully. Sorry to interrupt, ma'am. Afghanistan Task Force brief is ready when you are. Command wants your input on team composition. Elena looked at Brannigan, then at Kane, then at her father's name carved in black granite. Tell them I'll be there in 10 minutes. Kane nodded, started to leave. stopped. Ma'am, for what it's worth, you are what warriors should be. Your father would be beyond proud. After Kane left, Elena turned to Brannigan. I'm taking the deployment, and when I come back I'm going to stand at his grave and tell him everything. About the fights, about Kane, about Yemen, about teaching, about finally letting myself feel it all. Brannigan pulled her into a hug. Not a military gesture, a human one. The kind of hug her father would have given. That's the smartest thing you've said in years. Your dad would approve. Elena pulled back, wiped her eyes one final time, straightened her collar. Time to brief the team. What will you tell them? That the mission continues, that there's work to do, that someone has to stand on the wall, and that we're ready. Brannigan smiled. The rare kind, the kind that carried 30 years of friendship with a man who died in the mountains of Afghanistan, and 13 years of watching that man's daughter become everything he predicted she would be. Your dad used to say one more thing before missions. What? Try not to cry, baby girl. But if you do, make sure it's after the mission. Tears come after the fight, then you wipe your face and get back to work, because that's what warriors do. Elena walked toward the briefing room, her stride steady, her shoulders straight. The weight still there, but carried differently now. Not as armor, not as obligation, as love. The kind that doesn't disappear when someone dies. The kind that gets passed forward through notebooks and black belts and systems designed to protect daughters their fathers will never see grow up. Kane fell in beside her, matching her stride. The man who had once tried to destroy her career, now walking beside her as she built it. Staff Sergeant, thank you. For learning, for changing, for being willing to admit you were wrong. Thank you for showing me what right looks like, for saving my life in Yemen. I owe you everything. You don't owe me anything, but if you want to repay a debt, help me train the next generation. Make sure capability is the only standard that matters. Deal! They reached the briefing room. 12 operators waited inside. The team Elena would lead into Afghanistan. Into danger. Into the kind of darkness that only warriors understood. They were ready to follow her. Not because she was a woman who had proven herself. Not because she had won 6 fights or rescued 8 hostages or carried a wounded Marine through gunfire. Because she was their commander, and she was excellent. Elena stood before them. Gentlemen, we have 6 months of work ahead. People who need rescuing, enemies who need stopping, a mission that matters. Let's talk about how we're going to make a difference. The briefing began, plans developed, questions asked, contingencies explored, the work of warriors preparing for war. The work that never ended because the world never stopped needing people willing to do it. That night in her quarters at Dam Neck, Elena sat at her desk. Her father's notebook open on one side, her own notebook open on the other, his trident pin catching the lamplight, the faded belt hanging on the wall beside her gear. Not relics anymore, not museum pieces locked in a footlocker, living things. Tools being used, a system being passed forward. She picked up a pen and wrote, Dad, 13 years ago you left me Phantom Protocol. Tonight I'm adding to it because the system isn't just techniques, it's principles. And the most important principle you taught me was this. Warriors aren't defined by never falling. We're defined by standing back up. We're not defined by never crying. We're defined by wiping our eyes and continuing the mission. You told me to try not to cry. But you also showed me that crying doesn't make us weak. It makes us human. And humans who choose to fight anyway. Those are warriors. I'm taking a team to Afghanistan. We'll do the work that needs doing. And when I come home, I'll stand at your grave and tell you everything. Until then, know this. You created something bigger than yourself. Phantom Protocol isn't just mine now, it's Kane's, it's every student I teach. It's every warrior who learns that technique beats strength, intelligence beats size, and heart beats everything. I love you, I miss you. And I will make you proud. Elena. She closed the notebook. Set it beside her father's. 2 generations. 2 books. Both teaching the same lesson. True strength isn't about never breaking. It's about breaking and choosing to heal. Choosing to stand. Choosing to fight. Choosing to feel everything and keep going anyway. 3 weeks later, Elena boarded a C-17 at Joint Base Andrews, Kane and her team around her. The engines hummed. The cargo bay smelled like jet fuel and metal, and the particular scent of 12 people carrying enough gear to fight a small war. As the plane lifted off, Elena touched her father's dog tags, worn smooth from 13 years of contact. A reminder of legacy, of standard, of love that didn't end when her heart stopped beating. A young ranger sitting across from her noticed the gesture. "Those your dad's, ma'am?" "Yes." He was a SEAL. "Killed in Afghanistan, 2011. I'm sorry, ma'am." "Don't be. He died doing what he loved, protecting his team, serving his country." Elena looked at the dog tags in her palm. "He taught me everything about being a warrior. And the most important lesson was this. Try not to cry isn't about being tough. It's about timing. Ma'am, warriors cry, we just choose when. We cry after the mission, after the work is done, after we've earned the right to feel everything we held back. Then we wipe our faces and prepare for the next mission. Because the work is never done. The fight continues. And someone has to stand on the wall." The ranger nodded, understanding settling over his young face. Elena closed her eyes, leaned her head against the bulkhead, felt the vibration of the aircraft through her bones. In 6 months she would come home, take leave, visit her mother, stand at her father's grave in Virginia Beach, cry as much as she needed, tell him everything. But for now, she had a mission, had warriors depending on her, had enemies who needed stopping and people who needed saving. For now, she was Lieutenant Commander Elena Caldwell, DevGru operator, Phantom Warrior, her father's daughter. She had learned the truth her father always knew. The truth he wrote in a leather notebook and sealed inside a faded black belt and encoded in a system designed for a daughter he loved more than his own life. Warriors do cry. They cry for the fallen. They cry for the cost. They cry because the work breaks pieces of you that never fully heal, and only the broken truly understand what it takes to keep going. They cry, they wipe their eyes, they get back to work, not because someone told them to try not to cry, but because they are warriors, and warriors choose when to break and when to stand, when to feel and when to fight. Elena Caldwell chose both, every single day. And somewhere on a deck that looked out over an ocean his daughter would one day cross. Master Chief William Caldwell smiled, because his baby girl had finally learned the last lesson. The one he couldn't teach her while he was alive. The one she had to learn by living it. That the strongest thing a warrior can do is let herself cry, and then get back to work.